All right, now that you picked your hyper niche, make sure that you can actually make money on it so it's valuable enough, and also make sure you have enough of topics to make content for at least a year. Now it comes a part that any business should do, regardless of what business this is, especially if you're starting brand new. Now, for those of you who are restarting or resetting or adjusting, this is still a very, very important part because market research is essentially you talking yourself out of moving forward with this new business, in this case with this new topic or subject at the very least. And if you cannot talk yourself out of it, that means it is actually not a bad idea. So let's go over these very common market research points that you should definitely hit before you move forward with what you have decided to do with your social media project. The first one is obviously please find existing YouTube channels, find existing social media accounts and podcasts and blogs to make sure that you're familiar with other social media influencers that are talking and doing content on the same topic. Now, even if you're starting with a YouTube channel, still go to Instagram, still go and search for some podcasts, create a Google search so you can figure out if there are any bloggers that or websites that are dedicated to the subject. You want to be very, very familiar with this topic. Now, I'm going to assume you're not starting from scratch because if you're picked a certain topic, I'm assuming you're already interested in it. So naturally, you're probably already familiar with many social media influencers and what's out there. But it is extremely important to try to find as many of them as possible, make a list and to see which ones are competitors and which ones are possible partners. Sometimes they're both because you will probably have to collaborate with a lot of them. But let's also dig in a little bit deeper. Once you have that list, once you found those social media influencers, make sure that you know which ones are doing this full time. Now, you might find out that in some niches nobody's doing this full time, and then you might want to stop and think, ooh, is that an opportunity for somebody to come in and do it full time, or is it because it's kind of not very possible? So, this is going to be for you to answer, but you want to make sure that those who do appear to be doing this full time, you research a little more because essentially you will be following their footsteps. You're probably going to be reaching out to the same sponsors. You will have a lot of similar viewers. You might be even fighting for the same Patreon or PayPal donations. So make sure to understand which ones are doing it as a profession and which ones are still doing this as a hobby. But nevertheless, research both. And then just watch. Just consume their content. Just understand because there's some things that you can't just notice by just saying, "Oh, okay, well there it is. There's that YouTube channel or there's that Instagram account." Sometimes when you watch somebody or consume their content or listen to their podcast, you realize, this person is really good businessman. He or she is really doing a good job selling whatever it is that they're selling to their audience. Or you might say, you know what? This person is not selling anything at all. This person is just engaged with his or her audience so well that I can see why this person has a great and big Patreon donation source and a community. And that way you'll get a kind of a sense of, where the money is at, right? If you see a lot of your future competitors or partners and social media influencers that are doing the same topics, and if you see that all of them have sponsors, then you say, okay, it looks like this niche is all about getting together with brands. Or if you see most of them are making their money on Patreon donations and subscriptions, then you say, okay, well, this needs to be community-based social media project. But at the same time, don't forget, you can also go the opposite way saying, everyone's making money on Patreon here, but I wonder if there are brands out there who are dying to work with these influencers. They just may not have enough business sense to connect with them. So maybe I should start from the other end. These are all business decisions that only you can make for yourself. My job is to make sure that you actually find out about who these channels and social media accounts are and what it is that they do and how they make their money. So a great way to find that out is also to go into their description. Sometimes the description is just that, a description, but a lot of times you'll find clues, very direct clues on how these social media influencers making their money. If they're advertising a lot of Amazon products, and it's kind of their main thing, and then they're mentioning that in their videos and podcasts and blogs and so forth, then you realize, oh, okay, so this is how they make their money. If they're pushing their Patreon or PayPal page, then obviously that's how they make their money. But get into the description and see what it is they're pushing in the description, and that will give you a much better clue where that money is coming from. All right. Also, go everywhere. If you found a social media influencer on YouTube, go and find their website, go find their Instagram, and see how they're doing over there. You might find out that maybe for your particular niche, everybody who's doing it successfully is only sticking to one or two or three platforms, and they found out that everything else is just a waste of their time. You want to make sure that you kind of understand that, so you don't make the same mistakes that they have, or at least start with the right social media platforms. You know, in some categories, in some industries, especially where the topics are very visual, maybe it's not a good idea to start with a podcast. If it's something that, movie reviews, for example, probably it's going to be tough to do through an Instagram feed, because those are mainly about pictures. Videos are limited to 60 seconds. Same thing with Twitter, but of course YouTube. And even podcasting, right? Reviewing a movie that people already seen or want to see. It's all about the conversation. You don't necessarily always have to see even a trailer of the movie. That's still a possibility. So make sure to stalk them, if you will, throughout the internet and other social media platforms, so you kind of know everything about them, to be able to tell what works and what doesn't work for those social media influencers that are already popular and successful. Subscribe to their newsletters. That kind of goes along with the previous point about following them everywhere. If they have a newsletter, make sure to get on them and see how often they send out their content. Do they put some actual written content in there? Is it just simply calling people to go and join them for their maybe live streaming events, or some sort of other events, or whenever they post their content? Just see how well they do with their content in the newsletter, in what works for them. And of course, that will give you an idea about whether or not you should have one, and what kind of content you should be putting in your newsletter. And of course, if you can, if they're offering products and services, especially if those products and services are created by them, go ahead and buy them. Hopefully they're not too expensive, but this way you're going to be experiencing the exchange of money, even though you're on the other end for now, firsthand. That way you'll know, okay, well, this is their YouTube channel, and they're talking about a specific topic that we have in common, and this is how they get me interested in their paid product or services, whether it's theirs or their sponsors and so forth. Okay, let me go to their page and see, and then how do they make me spend my money on their product and services. So you want to go through this whole, what's called a funnel, the sales funnel of engaging from the first engagement with their content all the way to buying their product and service. Again, if it's too expensive, if something you feel you could be losing or wasting money on, then don't click that buy button, but go all the way so you understand the process through which your future viewers and content consumers would be going through. So you want to make sure to create the easiest and most beneficial one for them, because after all, that's what it's all about, right? Your content all the way to them clicking that buy button and exchanging money either directly with you or your sponsors or Patreon and so forth. So I think this is a pretty complete list of what a market research should be for starting a social media platform. But there are a few other points that I'm sure you can either come up yourself depending on your niche, or reach to search through other market research specialists, because there are quite a few of them out there, to make sure you cover all the ground. Just remember, the number one goal here is talk yourself out of moving forward, because the worst thing you can do to yourself is move forward with something that is a dead end and you just don't know it yet. Because you go through this list and you realize, whoa, no one's making any money on this. or none of these channels are very popular, or this only works on one platform that's just not set up to make money. You want to make sure to get all of those answers, all of those deal breakers up front, because you don't want to spend half a year of your life or a year of your life doing this, on weekends and time away from your family, just to realize that you picked the wrong niche in the first place. So try to talk yourself out of this, as much as you can. But if you cannot, then this is good news and you should move forward with this topic.